first post-match pint of the new season, of the 18-19 season. We're in Hotel Tier, we're made up to be here. Look at it, it's drop dead gorgeous. Just like Dan Morgan and Ian Ryan, both of whom are also drop dead gorgeous, obviously. And Liverpool have beaten Torino by 3-1 in this pre-season friendly. And they find themselves in a situation where they've finished this pre-season really strongly. It was a bit of a strange last pre-season game, Ian. It felt to me a little bit like the proper last pre-season game may well have been the one in Dublin. This was a bit of a show for everyone, get everyone excited. But it sort of worked. There's loads of Liverpool players I'm sort of excited about now.
I totally agree. I think second half they do take the foot off a little bit and there's a raft of changes, so that never really helps. But I thought first half there was intensity at times. But you're right about players to be excited about. I think, you know, his penalty aside, I thought Fabinho had a good 45 in centre midfield. He kind of lets Wijnaldum go forward then, and Wijnaldum picked his moments, I think, really well. So he was sitting quite close to Fabinho early doors, first 10, first 15, but then you see there's loads of opportunities where he breaks forward, picks those moments, obviously gets a goal, and actually I thought Wijnaldum looked really good. But there's other performances as well. You know, if you think about, I think Naby had an interesting performance. He probably got outshone a little bit by the other two, but at the same time, most of his off the ball work was pretty good. A little bit sloppy in possession. I think Klopp had to go to him a couple of times for maybe not backing Moreno up a little bit. But then again, Moreno doesn't cover himself in glory at times. But overall, Neil, I mean, a really good end, another win, and there's some real reasons to get excited ahead of the big one against West Ham.
Dan Morgan, sharpness was interesting to me. I thought Firmino didn't look quite as sharp as he had, even though he gets his goal. Keita again, they supposed to have done quite an intense session today before the playing today, but I thought Keita was a little bit sloppy in possession. I thought Fabinho, he starts the half well, maybe he tails off just a tiny little bit. I thought Wijnaldum was the pick of the midfield three today, but Liverpool in a couple of little areas, they weren't quite, for instance, as sharp as they looked, I thought, back at the Aviva.
Yeah, I'd take my lead off touch as much as fitness. You know, if they're able to sprint 20 yards, it doesn't tell me quite as much as when they trap a ball. You know, when there's not a lot on the legs or they've not been back that long, and when they've got the touch right, that's when I'm thinking, okay, you've got your sharpness there. And a few times tonight, it's going out or it's not quite reaching the players you want it to, but they're kind of letting it happen, and that's probably easily explained by the fact that they trained this morning, got a massive pre-season in the legs. But just going back to what we said before, I think all of this kind of brings it all home, in that you kind of feel like they've been on their holidays for a few weeks, and you know, you're in that hazy type of alternative reality when you're not at home. And then the fact that they get to be in Anfield tonight, they get to be around the place, the new players get to go to their lockers and say, this is going to be where the business happens for 9 months, all just makes it feel a little bit real. And if that's what comes out of it as much as anything else, it's as important as the fitness, the football, the result.
There is even something around the task tonight, which was to put a little bit of a show on. You felt that was certainly in the mind before Torino scored. When Torino scored, it did feel a little bit like a crashing down to earth, a tiny little bit for a few of the players, like, oh, there is something here that isn't just a circus, isn't just a performance. But then they picked themselves back up after the half-time changes, sort of started again, created a few opportunities. It's a strange game to have to come and play, and I think it's important to put that in mind of everyone who wasn't able to be there tonight, who wasn't able to be close to it tonight, that it wasn't the normal sort of even pre-season friendly or game Liverpool will play at Anfield.
No, and I think, you know, it's been mentioned before, you could argue maybe it was one game too many for the pre-season. It felt like, as you said before, Neil, the game against Napoli was the end to it, and then you go against West Ham. But saying that, I think the manager we've got, he won't really ever accept kind of, let's just play it out, let's just see it out. He seems to want intensity all the time, and I was kind of looking at him on the touchline today, and he's still very, very animated. There's still things going on that he wasn't happy with, and that's just because he's an absolute winner. And you know, even if you think back to the very first pre-season game, I remember thinking then he was unbelievably animated. There was no, let's just ease ourselves in here, boys. It was, I expect you to be at it from day one. No, the basics, they have to be there from day one. But I think it just kind of builds up to what's going to be a huge game against West Ham on Sunday. I think there's one or two out there tonight, I thought, who were trying to put a seed of doubt in the manager's mind. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's come back from the World Cup, but he's thinking to himself, I want to start on Sunday. There's absolutely no doubt. I've got a competitor in Nathaniel Klein, who's going for my place. I'm going to go out and show you what I can do, and I want to start on Sunday, World Cup or no World Cup. And he put a marker down tonight where you have to take all that into consideration, because fitness is important. You don't want to push a young lad. I have to say, he looks like he's gone physically a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. He looks like a proper man. You know, he come out and you're thinking, my God, it's only been, you know, a few weeks since we've last seen him, but he looks like he's kind of, you know, he's kind of kicked on again physically. And I think he's put a seed of doubt in the manager's mind, because I think a lot of people were thinking that Daniel Klein will start on Sunday and he give Trent a little bit of time. But then when you see Trent on the pitch and you see some of the balls he's putting in, and the boys, I think, alluded to it on the Audio show before, you've got to say he's a bit of a chance. And I think Adam Lallana comes on. He divides opinion, we know that. But again, there's stuff there that Lallana's doing that he thinks, I want to be in that team on Sunday. And there's a little bit of passage of play on about 70 where he goes and closes someone down. It's so aggressive. It's not befitting of a friendly. But he wants to say to the manager, listen, I'm still here and I want to play on Sunday.
What strikes me about Alexander-Arnold, and now latterly Henderson, Dan, whatever he's been doing in training, the manager tried to talk himself out of these lads will not be available for this West Ham game. The manager tried to suggest that, and you get the impression, sometimes being a football manager, it is a little bit like you try to say you're not going to play with your toys, and then suddenly there's your toys. Your toys have turned up, and now you're aware that on Sunday against West Ham you've got a football match you want to win. And with there being rumours of there being struggles at centre-back, so there's no Gomez today because he's got the knock. Phillips doesn't shine defensively today, I think it's fair to say. There's a couple of, you know, Clavan's not right, Matip's not right, Lovren's not come back, or he's only just got back this week. You do wonder whether or not for both Henderson, because of moving Fabinho, and for Alexander-Arnold, because of the performances he's putting in, if all of a sudden the manager might think, well, I've got this game of football to win. We played 38 of them to beat last season Manchester City. They found their route to winning 32. We can't start slow.
Yeah, the Nat Phillips thing is really interesting on this, in that I think before the game, if Gomez is out, the manager's probably thinking, yeah, do you know what, this kid's earned the right, he's been around these players pre-season, he's as ready as anyone and I can throw him in. And then you see that goal that we concede, and I'm not, you know, it's a pre-season friendly, but there's one in the second half as well where he's a little bit no man's land, and that goal we concede to me just looks like a goal that Arnautovic scores every day of the week. And when it's a league game, and you know we might not have got the goals, or it might not be happening for us the other end, then you know that's where these fine margins come into play. And if you're saying like you said, there's lads have turned up, and they've not only turned up, they've said, I'm here to play, you know, Gaffer, I'm all right, I've kept myself in nick all summer. Then I think that's where the manager, like you say, might just revert to, well, let's get it done and you're my first sub. But he's got that all over the pitch, and don't get me wrong, I think we've got it a lot easier than other teams. You know, imagine you Pochettino going into Spurs game Sunday. You know, what are you doing? Yeah. No one knows. But I think the question around, I think he'll have to use his subs very well in the first few games. I think he'll have to be wily with his subs, and if that means that he's then throwing Henderson on the pitch because he's all of a sudden thinking he can't play Phillips, so there's a knock on then him playing Fabinho centre half, then he'll do it. He will do it. You know, there's no doubt about it. That I think he went into that side today, that starting 11 with the side that he wanted. Worst case scenario against West Ham, in that if Robertson had a little bit of a knock, he'd play Moreno, and that if he can't get Gomez on the pitch, he'd play Phillips. I think he's probably now looking at it thinking, well, Henderson's telling me he'll play, Lovren's telling me he'll play. You know, the sports scientists are telling me they're all right. Let's get the game running and then move on from there.
There was an interesting, I mean, Klopp before the game, he speaks about Henderson, and he says, you know, he's been chomping at the bit, he's asking me to come back early. I've said, listen, no, you don't come back yet, you'll come back when it's right, blah, blah, blah. But what he did say was that he'd done a training session, and he could tell he'd been training over the summer. He's not come back, you know, Nicky Quinn style from years ago, or Luke Shaw, you know what I mean? He's come back and he's ready to go.
Get the impression he's doing his partner's head. I don't know if they're married or not, but it's like, she's going, George, you have to get up at 6 a.m. to go and do 3 hours.
How
he's
many
like,
fucking press-ups, lad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's come back, and obviously, you know, the manager will look at it, and he'll probably think he can't go against West Ham, but he might give him minutes off the bench, but maybe Palace is where he's looking at it and think, I'd maybe bring him back for that. Depending on how the training goes. I thought the centre-half situation, we talked about it on the main show, how hard it is to play centre-half when you're young. And he's 21, Nat Phillips, so he's not a kid, but he has that much experience in those type of
There's so many
games.
Decisions to make so quickly. You see it for the goal. I mean, he just gets sucked for 1 second to go where Van Dijk is. He's looked at him, and then he gets sucked this way, and before he knows where he is, the lad's behind him.
He's gave him two glances, but at the end of the day, you know, you're talking about a great centre forward in Belotti. You know, there's a reason why he gets 1 and 2, and you know what I mean.
When he heads that, it stays head.
He's won it. He's got a massive face, by the way. But he's won in 2. Belotti. He's won it. So you know, we're not talking about a mug here. He knows what he's about. He's good in the air. So you feel sorry for young centre halves. We spoke about it the other day. Even the very best, the real Ferdinands. You've seen it with John Stones, even though, you know, he's been around for a while now, he'll still have those moments where he'll switch off. So the manager's I think he's going to be hoping that one or two can kind of get back in time for Sunday, because there's no doubt it's a little bit of concern at centre half.
Sturridge, Shaqiri, second half down. Sturridge plays a lovely ball to wings, but it's his finish as well. The anticipation there that he sees Shaqiri look up. It's a delightful ball from Shaqiri, and Sturridge makes no mistake. And it strikes me that with Sturridge, I think there's a real desire to get that starting position against West Ham. I thought you saw it all the way through that half. He wanted his goal, I think not least because Firmino got his. And he wants to be able to say to the manager, listen, I'm worth a shot against West Ham. What the manager ends up doing, we've got no idea at this stage. But you do get the impression, if you are Sturridge, you can probably accept starting against West Ham and then being on the bench against Palace. But you probably love the idea of, I've had a really strong pre-season and I'm going to get me 60 minutes at least against the Hammers.
Yeah, he's justified in knocking on the door and saying, am I starting on Sunday? I think he's fully justified in that with the pre-season he's had. And like you say, it might be that the manager says, well, all right, let's do you. And then we'll get Firmino in when he's got another week in his legs. But conversely as well, I think he can probably be sold on the notion that we're going to need you either way on 60. And he can do that with the body of evidence he's had in the last week of the 2 games. He's gone, look what you've done when I brought you on the pitch. Gives that on Sunday against West Ham and the game's won. And I think, you don't want to damn him in any way, because he's looked so good, but there is that thing about him where you do have to exercise a bit of caution with him. So in terms of how you manage the player, in terms of how you look after him, then you might just say to him, look, I need that half an hour out of you. I need that last 2:45 that you've done this week in games for half an hour, because I think what he's doing really well is he's occupying and creating space really well in the way that he always has, but I think he's just doing it a little bit more wily now in terms of, I think he always had a bit of a brilliant type of one-track mind and mentality where he was going to be, I'm the one who's getting on the end of this. I'll knock my own player out the way to get on the end of this, whereby now I think there's that little element of him where he'll just have a little bit more of a think about it. And I think if he can show that in a game like Sunday where it might be a little bit tight, or we might just need to keep the ball for 10 minutes and all of a sudden he's dropping into number 8 positions all over the place. And you get reminded of that Leicester game a couple of years ago where he comes on sub and he just absolutely runs it. And I think in many ways we've got almost a perfect opponent on Sunday, because I think first and foremost there's too many egos about West Ham to come with an organisation that we've seen from like your likes of Burnley. So I think in many ways West Ham will almost by default West Hamness play into our hands in some way. So how we use Sturridge in that is interesting. I'd personally go with the front 3 and look to bring him on.
What would you do? Because I think I do think he's made the massive claim here. But you can now make an argument that Shaqiri's made a claim. He links it up really well today. Plays that ball for the goal. Looks lively. Looks sharp. Looks like he wants to be part of everything that's going on around him. It's a slightly tricky one for the manager. His sheer percentage shout is just to trust Bobby Firmino for 60 minutes. But which way do you think he'll go?
I suspect he might go with Bobby, to be honest. But I think, it'll all depend on how the next few days go in training, how people settle down and stuff, any reaction to tonight's game. It's been a long pre-season. I think Sturridge has staked the claim. It's just hard to know what level he's at. The pre-season is pre-season, and whilst I think he's looked great, and by the way, he's got himself a nice little partnership with Shaqiri. Them two seem to be on the same wavelength, so there's something happening in training there where
he's got himself a nice little partnership with Keita.
He has, to be fair. So there's things for the managers to think about that. That's important as well. Combinations on the pitch, that absolutely plays a part in the manager's thinking. But we know how much he loves Firmino, and he's such an important player, and you don't get the same things from Daniel Sturridge. And I take Dan's point about West Ham, but I think actually this could be tricky. It's hard to know. I'd say it's a 50-50 one. I mean, they've brought loads of new players, and it just might take them time to click. But you've seen it before where it just does click, because good players can just click, and they have brought in some decent belters. So it's a tough one, but I think I'd be tempted to give Firmino the 60 and then look at Daniel Sturridge for the last half an hour. But it's not a bad problem to have, is it?
I think the caveat to that as well, what we were talking about before with the likes of Henderson and stuff, is what we've seen from the manager is he kind of builds an identity for the first month or 2 of the season within pre-season. So, you look at 16, 17, and a lot of it's based around Lallana. Yeah. But there's knock-ons of that all over the pitch. So there's people doing Lallana's bits for him. on the premise that we get two solid months out of Lallana, August, September, and then we go from there and we carry it. So to then just drop one in that goes completely against the grain and goes completely against his last 2 starting 11s in the friendlies would be not like Klopp.
Okay, indeed. Man of the match, quick, Ian?
I think Gini Wijnaldum. I thought his first half, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really, really good, and there was a bit of a difference to the Gini Wijnaldum we've been used to. Obviously, he has more licence tonight, but I thought that first half performance was a standout.
Okay, Dan.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, I thought, just massively echo what Ian said earlier. I think he's going to come of age this season, and physically he looks like he's owning the pitch a lot more, and just in terms of his sheer ability and athleticism, it's surprising me on a game-by-game basis just how fit he is. He's supremely fit, and that's going to do us loads of favours.
Going to do us loads of favours. Listen, this has been our post-match pint. It's been our first one of the season against Torino. A quietish friendly, not quite the hubbub and the expectation we've got around the West Ham United game. We'll be doing something after that as well, something completely similar to this, where we'll sit around and have a chat about the game on YouTube and dissect it from there. Also, before the game, we're going to be doing something previewing the Liverpool against West Ham United game this weekend. That's going to be coming up for you on Friday. We're really looking forward to getting that out. In addition to that, after the West Ham game, we're going to be giving a long look at it, a bit of a tactical dissection as to what's gone on, what worked for the Reds, what West Ham turned up indeed. We'll be going through all of that as well. The Anfield Wrap's looking to do more and more video this year, and what we're trying to do with it is find new, interesting ways to go about doing what we do on audio. We always thought that when we came through that we changed the game around fan-dominated audio, and we're going to look to do the same thing with our video. I'm excited about it, these gentlemen are excited about it, I know Gareth's excited about it, and everyone in our team is excited about it. So stay with us, subscribe to the Anfield Wrap's YouTube channel to see it as we build and build and build and build, and then at some point what we're going to do is take everything we've learned, pull it all together, and we're going to pop it behind a paywall. We're really looking forward to doing that as well, and getting everything sorted for you, the viewer, to make it as tip-top as possible, to improve your viewing experience, and just to enjoy ourselves and cut loose. Thank you very much, Dan Morgan, Ian Ryan, our team back here who are all working ridiculously hard. We have been the Anfield Wrap. This has been our first post-match pint of 18-19. Take it easy.